All right, on this episode of Bouts Talking Bouts, happy to be talking to an individual who was coming off of a big victory at CFFC late last year there and now has some big news. And I was seeing the headlines undefeated heavyweight Dustin Joynson signs with one championship. So to that point, I thought to have Dustin come on the show. How are you feeling there, Dustin? I imagine pretty good.
Feeling good. Tired. Just woke up. So
Just getting the
glad
day
we're in
rolling.
here.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like things got going pretty well, though. You got the new gi, you got the New Year rolling and stuff like that. You had the New Year's Day with the ocean water rehabilitation and stuff.
Yeah, still need that after those leg kicks.
Yeah, and I was actually just listening to our last interview where you were kind of talking about that. You were like, yeah, he was really laying him in there with those leg kicks there. So good to hear you're healing up and rehabilitating and all that. But I'm kind of wondering when the, I guess, dialogue initially started rolling with this. Like, I mean, it seems like just a little bit ago, pen was officially put to paper and everything. But when were the preliminary conversations happening with signing with one?
When did talks start? I would say probably about a week before the signing, maybe. So maybe a bit earlier than that. Yeah, I didn't even know one was interested until they offered it to me, and of course I was. I've always loved one championship and been interested in fighting overseas. So when I found out they were willing to negotiate instead of I don't know, kind of tossing me around like UFC and Bellator were, like waiting for opponents and whatever else. Yeah, I was happy to jump on it, so I'm happy.
Yeah, and it seems like this represents the next step you were kind of looking for. Like per our last talk, it seemed like you were eyeing just something that resembled a next step, like a UFC or Bellator or anywhere else. So does this represent that sort of next opportunity you're looking for?
Oh, for sure. And I don't know. To me, like personally, like UFC would have been good for North America because that's what people know, right? Like anybody that I know that talks about MMA, they're mostly casual fans, so no one's heard of one except for any sort of martial arts gym. But the casual person, they've all heard of UFC. So that's kind of why, like, I was kind of aiming for that for friends and family folks for that. But I've been, I'm a martial artist and I follow all that kind of stuff. So I knew exactly what one was. So I was excited for sure to get an opportunity for them. People in North America don't know how big one championship actually is, and not realizing that they actually had 2 billion more views online last year than the UFC did. Those are big numbers.
Yeah, and to your point of like having, family and friends watch with the UFC kind of focus, it seems like that option is still going to be available with one championship. Like I'd seen an article where it was saying your wife's side and you have friends in Asia and stuff like that. So, I mean, at least they can check it out too. So it kind of appeals in that sense.
Yeah, no, for sure. My wife is half Filipino, so and my brother-in-law actually just moved there last year, so, and we're pretty close. But I've been there a few times already, and got friends and family there now. So it's good to kind of break into that market, and hopefully maybe they can see me when this pandemic thing is all kind of tucked away a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about the awareness with one championship, just realizing like the high level martial artists that they bring in. To that point, I'm kind of wondering like what your level of familiarity was with the heavyweight ranks prior to signing. Like, were you already kind of scoping some of the, I guess, luminaries in the heavyweight ranks over there?
I didn't really know much. I've seen a few fights from the heavyweight division, but I don't really know a lot of names. But that, to be fair, I don't really follow a lot of MMA anymore, like for watching. Like I know what it is, and I try to keep in touch with stuff, but I don't know. I don't tend to watch it as much anymore as I used to. As far as that goes, obviously I knew who Brendan Vera was and him being the champion, and I knew that Arjan from Vancouver, who's really close to me, signed with them and was scheduled to fight him. So I knew about that stuff, and there's a few other guys I know that I can't probably pronounce their names, so I'm not going to bother.
So is it a byproduct like prioritizing other things, just not watching fights as much? Is it kind of like to decompress and I guess focus on other things outside of training? Like what's the reasoning for that, I guess?
I guess so, because back when I was more of a fan of MMA, there was more balance. Like, I would, casually train, whatever, and watch the fights every weekend. Now there's too many fights to begin with, like, especially for UFC. They got cards like twice a week almost, or they did before the whole pandemic thing happened.
Yeah.
But I don't know. For the way I see it is, the further I get into an MMA career, I start looking at these other heavyweights like potential opponents. So I can't get all fanboy when if I start watching them, I'm probably going to start liking some certain people. I'm like, oh man, that guy's really good, and like stuff like that. And like, I don't want to have to like him if I'm going to have to fight him. Not in that sense, anyways.
Yeah, just keep it purely competitive, purely business oriented and whatnot. Yeah, and I get that. Now it's more of like a career as opposed to like, I mean, obviously the beginning there's a passion and you're dedicated to it and stuff like that, but just a different thing now.
It's kind of like a hobby until it becomes something bigger.
Was there a distinct point when you noticed that shift from it becoming like more of a hobby oriented thing to being like, okay, this could be a viable career path?
Pretty much when I signed with one championship.
That's cool to hear, man. I like that. Yeah. And it just provides you a great opportunity too, because obviously you've picked up some hardware on the Canadian scene and whatnot. But it seems like that world title is a big priority. Like, how important is it to kind of get a title on that level? Like, obviously not dismissing the hardware you've captured, because it's like some of the most reputable on the Canadian scene. But how important is it to?
I understand, but getting a belt of that level and magnitude would be incredible, and that belt looks amazing.
It does.
To begin with. So shiny, it's huge. It's a very pretty, very pretty belt.
Yeah, I feel like that would get some good placement on the mantle there with the Havoc FC and BFL belts, eh?
Although I still feel like if I brought it around town, people would think, what's that for? Like, oh my god. Stop, you casuals.
Yeah, but I've seen some articles that, had not really painted a picture of what your next fight would be or what the timeline is. But then I'd seen Asian MMA had put out there that there's an opponent mapped out for next month, but it didn't necessarily say who. Can you provide any insight into who that, opponent is and the purported debut next month, or are you still waiting on certain details yourself?
We're aiming for February 26th. I think that's the date that we're all aiming for. I don't have actually an opponent yet. I haven't been offered anything. So whatever. I'm just kind of training right now and looking forward to something. They just tell me to be ready.
Yeah, and I presume you're down with fighting whoever, just by virtue of like our prior discussion about just the one heavyweight ranks and stuff like that. Just like, oh yeah, whoever you want to send my way. Just, yeah, everyone's good in that division pretty much.
Yeah, there's not going to be any easy fights to begin with anymore. Not that there ever was, but you know what I mean? Like, it's the next level now, so everyone's got pretty high experience, decent records, whatever. But I do always feel like I'm going to be the least experienced guy amongst who I fight.
Does that inform your training methodology? Like, just I have to work X amount harder, or I guess do the run the miles in the morning when the other guys aren't? Like, I guess it doesn't embolden the prep.
I always try to work that much harder anyways, because everyone always has self-doubt and doubting themselves and disbelief and all that stuff. I think I get it more than anybody. It's not until I'm actually fighting where I feel okay about myself and my fighting abilities, but I don't know why. A lot of people doubt themselves, especially fighters. They need to hold up to a certain standard, and I think I put myself up there pretty high with trying to prove myself that I'm good enough to be there.
Yeah, it definitely comes across that you're a hard worker for sure, man. And we're talking about the title aspirations you have in one championship, but I'm noticing that it's been a little bit since Brandon Vera has defended the belt, I think since 2018 there. So do you see it as like, obviously you have to make the debut and there's a few other moving parts, but do you see it as a viable option to, I guess, contend for a title in 2021, or do you think maybe it would come after that sort of thing?
Maybe. Hell, they can give me a title shot right away. No, I'm just kidding. I definitely wouldn't say no to it. I whatever they want. Like, I don't know if I deserve anything like that, but hopefully with a few solid wins, or maybe one, or maybe the title shot next. No, but whatever they want, I'm happy either way just to be there.
Yeah, it's been a cool path to follow, and this is a cool juncture in your career, man. Definitely been a long road since that, first amateur fight at AFC 8.
It's definitely like one more life goal, especially for MMA career bucket list type of stuff, knocked off my list to make it to such a major MMA promotion. I only have a few more goals left in that category, and obviously winning the world title is one of them. And lastly, what most people might not know is I hope one championship makes a video game and puts me in it, because I've always had a dream of being in a video game.
Oh, hey man, I've actually seen some rumblings, like more so towards like the end of 2020, kind of through the last calendar year, of like gauging interest with a video game. So I'm thinking it's in the works. I think you probably signed with one at an opportune time.
If they did, my contract's long enough, and if I can get some good wins, they better put me in it.
And that could finally create some interest with your son as far as your fighting, because you're saying he's more into the gaming.
Because that's all he does, plays games.
Hey, Dad, I just knocked someone out with you again. Oh, cool.
Oh, I feel like if I was in it, I'd only be able to be my own character. I wouldn't be able to play as anyone else.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no doubt. That would be great, man. And yeah, definitely a feasible sort of goal, I think, just with the, like I said, preliminary talks with the game. But yeah, it's been great.
Sorry, you look at graphics nowadays, and they're so picture realistic as opposed to 15, 20 years ago when everything's so pixelated. Then I'd be more than happy to be in such a realistic game now.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Definitely a game I would pick up if Dustin Joynson is on the roster there for sure. But you've been good with your time, man, and I imagine your schedule is probably pretty busy just with all the stuff you got going on now. So to that point, is there anything you'd like to sort of add as a parting thought as we're wrapping up here, man?
Not really. Thank you for having me. Everyone watch out. Canada's coming to Asia.
Yeah, it's a great signing, and having Dustin Joynson, undefeated heavyweight, as part of One Championship's ranks just further bolsters that division they're building. Really good to get to talk to you ahead of this big signing here and everything. Dustin, thanks for the time and insights, and looking forward to that February debut there, man.
You too. Take it easy, buddy.